Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about programmers and what we like. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, what do programmers like yourself like? Work processes, writing program code, testing, work, testing and work, thoughts, ideas, thinking, abstract thinking, working conditions, deadlines, food, salary, medicine, and social packages and security. Like you just take a bunch of words and just put in there. Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Let's get into it. Uh, well, I do like a lot of things, but I'm assuming that the question here is more posed like what specific parts about my work as a programmer that I like. And so, I suppose I would say that the things that I like about being a software developer is that one part is, of course, that I agree, like I do love thinking. If we're gonna be like super abstract about the whole thing, I love working on complex problems and trying to figure out. And it's for me, it's very important that I'm not the sort of guy who likes to do puzzles or things like that because I don't like toy problems. I like what I call real problems, the sort of problems where it doesn't, there is no precondition for how it is solved. You just have to solve it in some fashion, and the way you solve it really much up, it's up to your creativity and so forth, well, to figure that out. Because I always have this issue, especially when I do like specific things like puzzles and stuff like that, where there is a quote unquote correct way of solving the puzzle. And that is always tricky for me because then I have to sort of understand how another person thinks about a given problem. But if you tell me, on the other hand, that I need to deliver on some goal or some idea or something like that, where I can use my own creativity to figure out, okay, so how could I solve this in the best way possible? That I absolutely love. Like, there are no restriction for how I can solve it. I just need to solve it within reason, of course. And that's the main thing I love about programming, because it allows me to basically do that. So, like as I've said in a few videos before, guys, to me, the programming language and the things that I use in order to like solve problems, like the coding, it's just a means to an end. It's just a way for me to solve a problem, and it just how happens that it's the sort of tool that allows me to work on a really wide range of various problems and solving them in various ways, right? And so whenever I have something like that in my hands, like a tool or some method of doing something which is applicable to something that where I can just continuously try to, all right, so first problem, right? Here are the issues that we have. Let's go up with a solution. Let's make a proof of concept, see if it works. And then if it does work, we scale it up a little bit. It seems stable. Cool. Problem solved. Let's do the next one. And then just continue like that, or improve upon an existing problem or so forth, or an existing solution and so forth. So that's probably the main thing. But when it comes to, like, for example, work processes and stuff like that, it it's not really something that bothers me all that much. The thing, like, I've made a few videos of what I dislike about my job, which is not necessarily work processes, but it is what I call to see things sort of slow down due to poor performance on the workers, or, like, when people deliver subpar work. I also dislike a lot when it comes to a lot of things when it comes to people not showing an engagement or things like that. But the contrast, or like the if you go 180 on that, the thing I truly love is to work with people who are really engaged and really passionate and want to do really good things, because nothing is, at least for me, as fun as having some very tough problem to sort of like really get, bite into, that is, you don't really know how to fix it or how to solve it. You really have to think about it, and then doing that in collaboration with people who are pretty good at what they do and they really like their job and like they show engagements and stuff like that, you're sort of on the same wavelength, right? That is, I suppose, the same thing that how musicians who play in a band together and they really get each other and they really are like in sync, how that must feel. I just or having a best friend who you can nerd out with on a hobby or something like that, because software is not just my job, it's also a hobby or like something I do as a passion and so forth. And it's not that often that I get to work with people like that, but at the very least, even if it's just me, I love working on tough things, like things that are tricky to figure out, and see if I can figure them out. And when it comes to like, these knickknacks, like some companies give you free food and like in the office and social benefits and stuff like that, that doesn't matter to me whatsoever, basically. If I were to really, really just stretch it to, this is the only stuff, like just name a few things that I care about in my work environment, is number one, I want to work on an interesting problem. Number two, I want to work with people who at least have a decent level of engagement into the work that they're doing and so forth, like they are actually interested in doing a good job. Number three, I want to get paid as well as I can humanly get. And that has nothing to do with that I necessarily am greedy or anything like that. It's just something that I know will matter to me, because I've said that to my managers before. You have two ways of showing gratitude as a business, as a company. Like personal is a different thing, but the company has two ways of keeping me in place. Number one, either you promote me or you give me responsibilities or something like that for something that I find to be truly interesting. And or number two, you pay me really, really well. Because basically, if I'm not, because I'd like to think that I am a bit of an overachiever, and so my compensation should sort of reflect that. It's the same thing with the responsibilities that I have. I never ever would have assumed, that someone is going to hand me something for free, and I would never ask for that. I want to prove myself to my employer so that they feel that yes, the stuff that I'm asking for, it's very much warranted. But then when it comes to like testing, yeah, testing is fun, like writing some unit tests, or like I completely despise doing manual testing like every single other software developer I've ever met. And I mean, abstract thinkings, coming up with ideas and stuff like that, all this sort of, to me, fits into this, that I have to solve a problem. But as for working conditions and like deadlines and stuff like that, most of the other stuff, it doesn't really matter to me. The core heart, like the easiest way to get me to want to work at a given company is, as I said, give me a true, like some a problem that I'm not really sure how I'm going to solve it. It's truly challenges and it grows me, or like gives me more, like improves my, well, it gives me the ability to improve my craft in some way, or gives me experiences that I don't really have. And that would be really, really, really great. That's the biggest thing I love about my job. And then, of course, pay and all of this other stuff, and put me in with people who are of a similar or even higher possible talent level that I can work together with on this thing. That's also something that I love. So what I want you to take away from this is that, at least for me, when it comes to what I liked about my work as a programmer, is that you basically need to master like a gigantic area of tools and practices. Once you have, though, you can basically solve any problem that has to do with computers, or like, the cyber world, and so forth, depending on how much you know, of course. And that's something that I truly love. Like, I love learning something, it doesn't matter what it is, and get really, really good at it, and then feel, or try to get good at it at the very least, and then feel as if I'm empowered to do things in the real world, or to create solutions to problems, because I've always loved to try to figure these sort, whatever it is, like optimize something or figure out something that's not working or stuff like that. I'm very much into that sort of thing. It's one of my biggest, if not my biggest, passion in life. And on the reverse, I truly do not like, actually, the opposite, where there's there are no problems to solve. Like, I just kind of do something monotonous or something like that's just repetitive or stuff like that. That's not for me. But if you can give me a work environment where I get to work on something that is complicated and I'm not really sure how to solve, or it's not something I've already done or so forth, I'm very, very happy. On top of that, everything related to the software process where the creativity is necessary, like writing tests, writing code, or things like that, I love all of that. All of it is the same thing with setting up infrastructure environments and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything that is not just cookie cutter or so forth, I love it about software development. And then on top of that, the only thing I really care about is sort of my responsibilities and the scope of my work, and of course getting paid well and so forth. That's a very nice benefit and so forth with being a software developer. So there's a lot of stuff there, but those are the main things. But I've never been one of those people who care about the perks. I could not care less about, the various little things that, you have a ping pong table in the office or something like that, or you do after work or stuff like that. That doesn't matter to me. The heart and soul of my desires and the stuff that I love about programming is down to being a really great craftsman and being recognized for the work that I produce. That's the heart and soul of my love for this craft. Have a great day.